Deadpool must stop a half-man, half-robot from the future from killing a kid in Deadpool 2. And no, this is not Terminator 2, but the setup sounds very familiar. David Leitch of John Wick directing fame takes over for Tim Miller from the first film. And what we have here is it's pretty much Deadpool, but bigger. I think I heard they described it as wanting to be the aliens of in that comparison. And in that way, there's more action. I would say there's more comedy because there's already the film is pretty much comedy all the way through with action. So new to this film, well, you have all the most of the returning cast, including his girlfriend Colossus and the
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yes, they return. Added additions are I think.
Flame Fist or something like that.
Yes, Flame Fist.
And Cable.
Cable, which is the biggest addition, which was teased in the after credit scene for Deadpool.
And then
I know than Josh Brolin, who's just Thanos. Kudos to his agent, a month apart. Thanos
and versatility.
Yes, and then also Domino is one of the other
new ones.
The characters. So Deadpool 2. If you love Deadpool, this is going to be an enjoyable film. However, it's not as successful for me as the first one. The action is good. Like I mentioned, you have the director of John Wick, and he very stylish action film. So those scenes are all perfectly fine, entertaining. But I felt like this film falls short with the comedy. Now, there's so many jokes, enough land for it to be a funny film. However, there's too many jokes that just don't land, they drag on. Thinking about one scene in particular with the X-Force, the super groups pulled together, and it's a bit of a surprise. I think that happened quickly, but it's dragged on. It's like the same joke over and over, and eventually I wasn't laughing so much as I was just kind of okay. And then the other thing is trying to develop, I guess, this emotional core of Deadpool, who doesn't really need an emotional core. I liked in the first film where, he's like, okay, you're not supposed to kill the bad guy, now you got him subdued, and he just doesn't care, right? That's the Deadpool I like. This film it tries to go the opposite direction with that. That part just fails, and so for that reason, for me, it's a mild recommendation. It's only 2.5 stars for me. The first Deadpool I felt like was just a much tighter film. Having a smaller budget sometimes is a good thing. And they had all the motivation in the world to show it works. They proved it works. I'm glad there's R-rated superhero films. Like I said, it's not a disaster. People who absolutely love the character more than me will probably give it a much higher rating, but for me, it's a 2.5 stars.
That's actually the rating I give the first one. I didn't care for the first Deadpool. I admired its audacity and its willingness to basically give the finger to modern movie conventions and superhero tropes and take advantage of the R rating, which, again, this film does as well. I mean, this movie is not for kids. No. Let's just say it. But I love this movie. I thought it was so much better. The first one, it was really all attitude and, no substance. That's different. It still got the same attitude. It still got the same, subversion of modern, storytelling tropes. He still talks to the audience. He still knows he's in the movie. But it basically takes what worked, in the first one, and it pushes it to the next level. I mean, you've got, he insults like the cast and crew in the opening credits. It's spoofing James Bond with, and I'm obviously to say minor spoiler here, but considering it takes place within the first 10 minutes, I don't know how much spoiler it is, but the opening song is sung by Celine Dion. And, and that's totally Deadpool. And this movie is very funny. You mentioned the introduction to the X-Force that you didn't like. I love that!
What was the introduction? It was the surprise scene for what happens to
yes,
them?
It worked for me. Right. I thought it was hilarious. Right. And this movie features a number of great cameos, and in addition, to that, it basically the end credits just kind of subvert basically thumb their nose at Marvel, which I really enjoyed. And I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And yeah, the emotional component, I see what you mean, but at the same time, the movie's tongue is always in its cheek. It is never meant to be taken even semi-seriously.
Right.
And this movie is basically, it's part legitimate superhero movie and part parody of one, but mostly parody. And on that level, I really enjoyed the film. I give it a 3.5.
Wow, okay. Well, again, I feel like that emotional component was such a driving force for the narrative that when it didn't work, it ruined it for me. And just too many of the jokes went on too long for let's say, just to give an instance without a spoiler, but he regrows his body parts. We know.
Yes.
So that was a funny joke in the first one, and much shorter, and it hit just as hard. In the new one, it's funny, but then there has to be like 10 jokes from that one joke extended.
Yeah.
And and like I said, that eventually starts to make me lose interest in what's happening. It takes me out of it a little bit. But again, it's not a bad film by any means. Again, I feel like, so I'm not surprised if you loved it, they give you more.
Yeah.
Of what, it's just a matter of if you feel like it's successful. To me, I didn't feel like it was as successful or well written as the first one, even though the same writers do return. So.
Right. One thing you mentioned, the jokes going on too long. That brings to mind Weasel, played by T.J. Miller, who started his career as a stand-up comic. And I get that it's some sort of in-joke that he just riffs endlessly on the same stupid joke in the way that Seth Rogen does. And yes, this movie makes fun of it. Doesn't negate the fact that the character is completely irritating. I mean, he even looks similar to Seth Rogen. Yeah. And he's just as annoying. Thankfully, because of bad press and scandal, T.J. Miller will not be returning for sequels, and I'm thinking, thank God. Because if there's anything worse than in modern comedy, it's a stand-up comedian who just gets up on screen and starts shooting his mouth off, riffing on the same stupid non sequitur. It is fatal to comedy. Make a joke, then move on. And so there's my bit. Aside from that, I really like this movie.
Okay, well we agree. Go see it.
Go see it.
Go see Deadpool. You'll either
if you like the first one,
or just enjoy it enough.
Exactly.